Get over here. Now. Byron Hayes' hand clamped around Kira's wrist and yanked her forward across the empty casino floor. She stumbled in her heels, catching herself before she hit the polished marble. Dad, what the hell? Shut up and walk. Kira's heart kicked into overdrive. The Diamond Crown Casino was never empty. It was 9 p.m. on a Friday. The place should have been packed. Instead, it was dead silent. Every table cleared, every machine dark, every person gone. Like someone had ordered the building evacuated. And then she saw why. The man sitting on the edge of the main poker table. Knox Voss. Kira's breath stopped. He was enormous, 6'5" of pure muscle wrapped in black leather. His light brown skin gleamed under the chandeliers, and short twists hung around a face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jaw, and high cheekbones, lips that looked both cruel and kissable. But it was his eyes that made her stomach drop. Light gray, cold, predatory, fixed on her like she was prey. Knox Voss was a legend in Vancouver, 28 years old. Built an empire from nothing, casinos, hotels, nightclubs. Whispers said he'd done dark things to get that empire, the kind of things that left bodies. And her idiot father had dragged her into his world. Knox didn't speak, didn't move, just watched her with those wolf eyes. Mr. Voss, this is her, Byron babbled, shoving Kira forward like an offering. My daughter Kira, 24, smart, beautiful, studying at UBC to become a detective, top of her class. Stop talking about me like I'm livestock, Kira snapped, jerking away from her father. Her detective training kicked in immediately. She scanned the room, noting the exits, the security cameras that had been turned off, the three men standing in the shadows behind Knox. Professional. Armed. Loyal. This wasn't just a debt collection. This was something else entirely. Knox's lip twitched. Almost a smirk. He stood, unfolding to his full, terrifying height, and pulled something from his jacket. A folded paper. He held it out. Kira snatched it, her mind already analyzing. Legal paper, official seal, notary stamp. This wasn't a joke. She unfolded it and read. Marriage contract. In lieu of monetary payment for debts owed totaling $437,000, Byron Hayes hereby transfers guardianship of his daughter, Kira Michelle Hayes, to Knox Alexander Voss through legal marriage. The world tilted. Kira's detective brain immediately started dissecting the legality, coercion, duress, undue influence. This wouldn't hold up in court. It couldn't. But the look in Knox's eyes said he didn't care about courts. You're joking. Kira looked up at Knox. This is a joke, right? Knox's expression didn't change. He just stared at her with those cold gray eyes. Not joking. $437,000? Kira whirled on her father. Are you out of your mind? Byron backed up, hands raised. Baby, I can explain. Explain? You gambled away $500,000? It was supposed to be a sure thing. I had a system. You don't have a system. You're a drunk and a gambling addict who destroys everything he touches. Kira's voice echoed through the empty casino. Years of suppressed rage finally breaking free. Mom died because of you. We lost our house because of you. I've been working 2 jobs to keep a roof over our heads while you piss away every cent at poker tables. And now you're selling me like I'm a used car to pay off your debts? Kira, please? What kind of father does this? Her voice cracked, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of this man. What kind of human being sacrifices their own child to save themselves? Byron's face crumpled. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. But he was going to kill me. What was I supposed to do? Die, Kira said coldly. You were supposed to die. The words hung in the air like poison. Knox watched this entire exchange without speaking, without moving. Just those gray eyes tracking every emotion on Kira's face, cataloging, analyzing. Finally, he moved. They walked toward Byron with slow, deliberate steps. Byron scrambled backward. "Mr. Voss, please, she'll come around. She just needs time to—" Knox's hand shot out and gripped Byron's collar, lifting him onto his toes effortlessly. "Leave," Knox said. It was the first word he'd spoken. His voice was deep, quiet, and somehow more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. Yes, sir, absolutely, I'll just—" Knox shoved him toward the exit. Byron stumbled, caught himself, and ran for the doors. Didn't even look back at his daughter. The casino doors slammed shut. Silence. Kira stood there, shaking with rage and humiliation and fear. She forced herself to analyze the situation like she'd been trained. Exits blocked. Armed men. No witnesses. No leverage. Trapped. Knox turned those gray eyes on her. She lifted her chin. They're refusing to cower. "I'm not marrying you." He tilted his head slightly, studying her. "I don't care what that contract says," Kira continued, her mind racing through legal precedents, case law, anything that could help her. "It's coercion under duress. No court would uphold it. You can't force someone into marriage. It violates about a dozen laws. I'm studying to become a detective. I know my rights, and I know this is illegal." Knox's lip curved slightly, like he was amused. "You're smart," he said quietly. "Good." His voice did something to her stomach that she absolutely refused to acknowledge. "I'm not marrying you," Kira repeated. Knox pulled out his phone, typed something, put it away. Then he walked toward her. Kira held her ground even as every instinct screamed to run. He stopped right in front of her, and so close she could smell leather and expensive cologne. He reached out slowly, giving her time to move. She didn't. His fingers tucked a strand of her wavy black hair behind her ear. The gesture was gentle, unexpected. His gray eyes softened just for a moment. "You have a sister," Knox said quietly. "Leia, 22. Cognitive impairment from birth. Needs full-time care." Kira's blood went cold. "How do you know about Leia?" "I know everything about you, Kira Hayes." His voice was soft, but there was steel underneath. "I know you work 2 jobs. Morning shift at Sweet Haven Bakery, night shift cleaning offices. I know you're drowning in student debt trying to finish your criminology degree. I know you take care of your sister alone because your father sure as hell doesn't help. You've been watching me." It wasn't a question. I've been paying attention." "That's not an answer." Knox's jaw tightened. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something that looked almost like pain. 24 hours, he said, stepping back. "Think about it. Think about what kind of life you can give Leia working 2 jobs and barely surviving. Think about what happens to her if something happens to you. Are you threatening my sister?" "No." Knox's voice went hard. "I'm offering to help her. Best medical care in the country. Specialists, therapy, everything she needs that you can't afford." Kira's throat tightened. "Why would you do that?" Knox's gray eyes held hers. Something shifted in his expression. Something vulnerable, quickly hidden. "Someone once showed me kindness when I had nothing," he said quietly. "When I was invisible to the world. Like that person saved me. What does that have to do with me?" His jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to say something, then thought better of it. 24 hours, Kira." He pulled out his phone again, showed her the screen. A bank account. In Leia's name. With $500,000 already deposited. Kira's breath caught. "If you have that kind of money, why not just pay my father's debt?" Knox's eyes went cold. "Because paying the debt doesn't protect you. The contract does. Once you're legally mine, your father can't touch you, can't sell you to someone else, can't use you as collateral ever again." His voice dropped lower. "And if I just paid his debt, He'd be back at the tables next week, gambling away more money, putting you in danger again. This way, you're free of him, forever. The logic was sound, so terrifyingly sound. And if I refuse? Knox stepped closer again. So close she had to tilt her head back to see his face. You won't, he said quietly. You sound very sure of that. Because I know you, Kira Hayes. You'll do anything to protect your sister, even marry a stranger. He was right, and she hated that he was right. I need time to think. 24 hours, Knox repeated. After that, I'll come find you, and trust me, you don't want me to come find you. Then he walked away, his leather jacket swinging. The three men in the shadows followed him. A side door opened. Light flooded in. The casino started filling with people again, dealers, gamblers, staff, like someone had just hit play on a paused movie. Kira stood alone on the casino floor, the contract crumpled in her hand, her mind racing. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered. Don't try to run, Kira. Knox's deep voice made her shiver. I have eyes everywhere, but if you need proof that I'll take care of you and Leia, check your tuition account. He hung up. Kira pulled up her student account with shaking hands. Balance. $0. Note, paid in full by Kay Voss. Her entire remaining tuition. $30,000. Just gone. Paid. Kira's hands trembled. What the hell had her father gotten her into? Kira burst into the apartment she shared with her father and sister, her mind still reeling. Kira! Leia looked up from the TV, smiling. You're home. Did you bring food? I'm hungry. Kira's heart clenched. Leia was having a good day. Her eyes were clear, her smile bright. On bad days, she barely recognized Kira. Not yet, sweetie, but I'll make you something. Where's Byron? Daddy left. He said he had to go somewhere important. He took his suitcase. Of course he did. The coward. Kira made Leia dinner, got her settled with her favorite show, then locked herself in her tiny bedroom. She pulled out her laptop and did what she did best. Research. Knox Alexander Voss. Age 28. Born Vancouver, BC. Public records showed he'd appeared seemingly out of nowhere at age 21 with enough money to buy his first casino. Built his empire from there. 3 more casinos, 2 luxury hotels, exclusive nightclubs. But before age 21, nothing. Like he didn't exist. Kira dug deeper. Juvenile records were sealed, but she found traces. An arrest at age 16. Gang affiliation, charges dropped. Another at 17. Assault, charges dropped. She cross-referenced gang activity in Vancouver 15 years ago. The Jackals, a violent gang that ran drugs, weapons, protection rackets in East Vancouver. Dismantled in a major police raid 12 years ago. Several former members went to prison. Several disappeared. One name kept appearing in the background of old news articles. Malachi Grant, rumored to be the real power behind the Jackals. Never charged, never convicted, but whispered about in every report. Kira's detective instincts tingled. Knox had been part of the Jackals, had to be. That's where he'd gotten his initial money, through illegal means. Then he'd gone legitimate, built an empire, erased his past. But men like Malachi Grant didn't just let people walk away. Kira sat back, her mind racing. She should report this. Go to the police. Tell them Knox Voss was trying to force her into marriage. But would they even believe her? He was one of the richest men in Vancouver. She was a broke college student with a gambling addict father. And more importantly, the money in Leia's account, the paid tuition, the promise of medical care. Leia needed help that Kira couldn't afford, would never be able to afford. Her phone rang. Unknown number again. Stop calling me, Kira said. 19 hours left. Knox's voice was calm. Just wanted to make sure you hadn't done anything stupid. Like what? Like go to the police. Kira's blood ran cold. Are you watching me right now? Go to your window. Heart pounding, Kira went to her bedroom window and looked out. A black SUV was parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine running. Someone was inside, watching. No, this is illegal surveillance, Kira said. Prove it. There was dark amusement in his voice. I'm going to arrest you for this someday, when I'm a detective. I look forward to it. He actually sounded like he meant it. Get some sleep, Kira. Big decision tomorrow. Wait, why are you really doing this? You could marry anyone. Models, actresses, socialites. Why force me into this? Silence on the other end. Then quietly. You really don't remember, do you? Remember what? Another long pause. Get some sleep, detective. He hung up. Kira stared at her phone, her mind racing. You really don't remember. Had they met before? When? She tried to think back, tried to remember if she'd ever encountered Knox Voss before that casino. But she came up blank. She could never forget a face like that. Outside, the black SUV remained parked across the street. Kira closed the curtains, her decision slowly crystallizing. She hated this, hated being trapped, hated that her father had put her in this position. But Leia needed help, and Knox was offering it. Maybe she could marry him, get Leia the care she needed, finish her degree, and then find a way out. Maybe. Maybe not. Kira stood up to pace her room. Something was fishy. Why was he so intent on marrying her? She couldn't figure anything out, and she hated walking into something blind. 16 hours later, Kira had packed 2 bags and was trying to explain the situation to Leia. We're going on an adventure, Kira said carefully. Leia's eyes lit up. Really? Where? I'm not sure yet, but we need to leave for a while. Is Daddy coming? No, just us. Good. Leia went back to packing her stuffed animals. Daddy smells bad and he's mean when he drinks. Kira's throat tightened. Even Leia understood. Leia, I need you to pack only your favorite things, okay? We can't bring everything. But Mr. Whiskers' favorite, and Captain Fluff, and Rainbow Bear, and Sparkle Bunny, and… You can bring all of them, Kira said, giving up. Just hurry. 20 minutes later, they snuck out the back of the apartment building. Kira had called a taxi to meet them 2 blocks away, hoping to avoid whoever was watching the building. They hurried through the alley, Leia chattering the whole way. Where are we going, Kira? Somewhere with food? I'm hungry. Are we going to the beach? I like the beach. Can we get ice cream? Maybe, sweetie. I'd just keep walking. The taxi was waiting right where Kira had asked. She bundled Leia and their bags into the back seat. Rosewood Inn on Main Street, Kira told the driver. Please hurry. The driver, older man, gray hair, kind smile, nodded. You got it, miss. The taxi pulled away from the curb. Kira looked back. No sign of the black SUV. Maybe they'd actually… Music started playing from the radio. Not normal music. Something dark, haunting, with lyrics that made Kira's detective instincts scream. Run, run, fast as you can, but shadows follow where you land. Hide, hide, try to stay free. He'll find you, just wait and see. Can you change the station? Kira asked, her voice tight. Sorry, miss. Radio's broken. Stuck on this channel. Kira studied the driver more carefully. His hands on the wheel. Rough. Eye calloused. Not soft like someone who just drove a taxi. His eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror. Not checking traffic. Checking her. Actually, let us out here, Kira said. We're almost there, miss. Just a few more blocks. I said let us out. Can't do that. Already paid for the whole trip. Kira's heart rate spiked. I didn't pay you yet. The driver's eyes met hers in the mirror. No, miss, but Mr. Voss did. Damn it. Knox was already onto her. Kira? Leia grabbed her hand. I don't like this car. The music is scary. It's okay, sweetie, we're almost there. The taxi pulled up to the Rosewood Inn, a modest two-story building with warm lights and a flickering vacancy sign. Through the windows, Kira could see people inside, guests checking in at the front desk, a couple having drinks at the small bar, and staff moving around. A normal, functioning inn. Have a nice stay, the driver said pleasantly, like he hadn't just essentially kidnapped them. Kira grabbed Leia and their bags and got out. The taxi drove away before she could respond. She stood on the sidewalk, heart hammering, analyzing her options. She could grab Leia and run. But to where? How far would they get? If he paid for the driver that brought her here, he had to be tracking her somehow, right? The inn's front door opened, and Knox Voss stepped out. He looked like every dark fantasy Kira had ever secretly entertained while watching K-dramas at 2 a.m. black leather jacket over a black t-shirt that showed every ridiculous muscle. Jeans that fit like they'd been tailored specifically for his body. His twists were perfect, framing that devastating face, and the streetlights caught his gray eyes, making them glow silver. Behind him, another man stepped out, tall, lean, with warm brown skin and an easy smile. He looked friendly, trustworthy. "Boss, you want me to bring their bags in?" the man asked. Knox nodded once. "Yes, Silas." The man walked toward Kira with a kind smile. "You must be Kira, and this must be Leia." "Hi," Leia said brightly. "Do you work for the big scary man?" Silas laughed. "He's not that scary when you get to know him, I promise." He picked up their bags easily and headed back toward the inn, leaving Kira alone with Knox. Knox hadn't moved from the doorway, just stood there watching her with those predator eyes. "You own this place," Kira said. "Not a question." Knox nodded. "The taxi driver works for you." Another nod. "You knew I'd run." Knox finally moved, and walking down the steps toward her with slow, deliberate steps. Each movement controlled, powerful. He stopped a few feet away. "I know you, Kira Hayes," he said quietly. "Better than you think." Leia tugged on Kira's sleeve. "Kira? Who is that?" Knox's expression softened immediately when he looked at Leia. He crouched down to her eye level, making himself smaller, less threatening. "I'm Knox," he said gently. "You must be Leia." Leia studied him seriously. "You're really big, like a superhero." "Something like that." "Are you going to hurt my sister?" "No, never." "Promise?" Knox's gray eyes lifted to meet Kira's, held her gaze. "I promise." Leia seemed satisfied. "Okay, I'm hungry. Do you have food?" Knox stood. "Inside, Silas is ordering dinner." He turned and walked back toward the inn. Kira had no choice but to follow. The inn's interior was cozy. Exposed brick walls, warm lighting, comfortable furniture. The guests Kira had seen through the window were still there, completely oblivious to the drama happening around them. Silas was at the front desk, chatting with the clerk and ordering food. Knox led them upstairs to a private suite, clearly his personal space when he stayed here. "Wait here," Knox said. Then he left, closing the door behind him. Leia immediately started exploring. "Kira, look, the bed is huge, and there's a TV. Can I watch cartoons?" "Sure, sweetie." Kira's mind was racing, analyzing. Knox had let them into his private suite. That suggested trust, or control, maybe both. Silas appeared with food, burgers, fries, fruit, juice boxes for Leia. "Thought you might be hungry," he said with that warm smile. "I'm Silas, by the way. Ned Knox's right-hand man. Been with him for 6 years." "You seem normal," Kira said before she could stop herself. Silas laughed. "I get that a lot. People expect everyone around Knox to be scary and dangerous, but he's actually a good boss, fair, loyal, takes care of his people. Even the ones he forces into marriage contracts?" Silas's expression turned serious. "He told me about your situation. For what it's worth, I've never seen Knox go to these lengths for anyone. Whatever his reasons are, they're important to him. That doesn't make it right. No, Silas agreed. But it doesn't make him evil either. Just complicated. The door opened. Knox walked back in. Silas, give us a minute, Knox said. Sure, boss. Silas smiled at Leia. Enjoy the food, kiddo. He left. Knox looked at Kira. Your 24 hours are up. Kira's hands clenched. I know. What's your answer? Kira looked at Leia, happily eating French fries and watching cartoons, oblivious to how her entire life was about to change. Then she looked at Knox. Really looked at him. Dangerous. Yes. Controlling. Absolutely. Criminal past. Definitely. But also, the bank account he'd set up for Leia, the tuition he'd paid, the way he'd crouched down to talk to Leia at her level, the way his eyes had softened when he'd promised not to hurt Kira. Maybe he wasn't evil. Maybe he was just complicated. I have conditions, Kira said. Knox's eyebrow lifted slightly. You're not in a position to negotiate. Then I guess you don't want me badly enough. His jaw tightened, but there was something in his eyes. Respect? Like what conditions? 1. Leia gets everything you promised. Best medical care, specialists, therapy, no expense spared. Done. 2. I finished my degree, no interference. I'm going to be a detective and you're not going to stop me. Done. 3. Separate bedrooms. This is a legal arrangement, not a real marriage. You don't touch me. Knox's gray eyes darkened. Anything else? 4. You tell me the truth, eventually, about why you're really doing this, about what I'm supposed to remember. Knox was quiet for a long moment. I'll tell you, he said finally, when you're ready to hear it. That's the best you're getting, Kira. He stepped closer. Those are my terms. Take them or leave them. They stared at each other. A battle of wills. Fine, Kira said. I'll marry you. Leia gasped from the couch. You're getting married? Can I be a flower girl? Knox's lip curved slightly. You can be whatever you want, Leia. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Silas, schedule the courthouse for tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. He hung up, looked at Kira. Get some rest. Tomorrow you become Kira Voss. The way he said her future name made Kira's stomach flip. What the hell had she just agreed to? If you think Kira just made a deal with the devil or her savior, drop your vote in the comments and smash that subscribe button because the wedding is happening and things are about to get real. The next morning, a black SUV picked them up. Knox was already inside, looking devastatingly handsome in an all-black suit. No tie. Top button undone. His twists were freshly done, his gray eyes sharp. Silas sat in the passenger seat, cheerful as ever. Morning? Everyone ready? Leia bounced in her seat. I'm wearing my purple dress. Kira said it's fancy enough for a wedding? You look beautiful, Silas said warmly. The courthouse was downtown, clean, efficient, impersonal, perfect for a marriage that wasn't about love. They waited in a small room. Kira's hands wouldn't stop shaking. You okay? Silas asked quietly. Define okay. He smiled sympathetically. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. Not everyone would do this for their sister. I'm not brave. I'm desperate. Sometimes they're the same thing. The officiant called them in. The room was small, sterile. Just the officiant, Knox, Kira, Leia, and Silas as witnesses. Dearly beloved, the officiant began, clearly bored and reading from a script. Now we are gathered here today to join Knox Alexander Voss and Kira Michelle Hayes in matrimony. Kira's heart was hammering so loud she could barely hear. Do you, Knox Alexander Voss, take Kira Michelle Hayes to be your lawfully wedded wife? To have and to hold, From this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? Knox's gray eyes locked onto Kira's face. Intense, unwavering. I do, he said quietly. His voice was steady, certain, like he'd been waiting his whole life to say those words. And do you, Kira Michelle Hayes, take Knox Alexander Voss to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold, from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? This was it. Last chance to run. Like last chance to say no. But Leia was standing beside Silas, beaming like this was the best day of her life. Kira swallowed hard. I do, she whispered. By the power vested in me by the province of British Columbia, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The officiant looked at Knox. You may kiss the bride. Kira's eyes went wide. She hadn't thought about this part. Knox stepped closer, towered over her. His eyes were molten silver now, intense in a way that made her knees weak. He reached up slowly, cupping her face with one large hand. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Gentle, reverent. Kira couldn't breathe. Knox leaned down and pressed his lips to her forehead. Soft, tender, almost loving. Welcome to the family, Kira Voss, he murmured against her skin. Shivers raced down her entire body. But you're married, Leia squealed. Now you have to kiss on the lips. That's what they do in movies. Knox pulled back slightly, his gray eyes holding Kira's. Later, he said quietly, just to her. When you're ready. Not if. When. Like he knew eventually she'd want him to. The arrogance should have annoyed her. Instead, it made her heart race. Knox's mansion was obscene. The SUV pulled through iron gates that looked like they belonged to a palace. The driveway was lined with trees, lights twinkling in the branches. The house itself was 3 stories of modern architecture, all glass and stone and impossible beauty. This is a castle, Leia shrieked, pressing her face against the window. Kira, we're going to live in a castle. It's not quite a castle, Leia. It's close enough. The car stopped in front of the main entrance. The massive front doors opened, and a woman stepped out. She was maybe 50, with warm brown skin, graying black hair pulled into a neat bun, and kind eyes. She wore simple but elegant clothes. Welcome home, the woman said with a genuine smile. I'm Mrs. Rivera. I manage the household. This is my wife, Kira, Knox said, and her sister, Leia. Wife. The word still felt surreal. Mrs. Rivera's eyes crinkled. It's wonderful to finally meet you both. I've prepared rooms and dinner. You must be exhausted. Leia grabbed Mrs. Rivera's hand without hesitation. Do you have cookies? Knox's friend Silas said there might be cookies. Mrs. Rivera laughed. I have fresh chocolate chip cookies, still warm. Would you like some? I love you, Leia declared solemnly. I think I'm going to love you too, dear. Come, let me show you the kitchen. Mrs. Rivera led Leia inside, already chattering about favorite foods. Silas grabbed their bags. I'll take these up to your rooms. Knox, you want me to schedule that meeting with the hotel investors for tomorrow? Yeah? Morning's fine? Silas headed inside, leaving Kira alone with Knox. They stood in the driveway, the massive mansion looming behind them. This is really happening, Kira said quietly. Yes. I'm actually married to you. Yes. And living in a mansion that probably has more bathrooms than my entire apartment building. Knox's lip twitched. 12 bathrooms, actually. That's obscene. Wait until you see the library. Despite everything, Kira almost smiled. You have a library? You're studying to be a detective. I thought you might appreciate books. Something warm unfurled in Kira's chest. Knox gestured toward the house. Come on, I'll give you the tour. The mansion was stunning. Soaring ceilings, huge windows, modern furniture mixed with unexpected touches of warmth, family photos. Whose family, Kira wondered? Artwork, books. Knox showed her the kitchen, professional grade, massive. The living room, fireplace big enough to stand in. The gym, fully equipped. The pool, indoor, heated. Then the library. Kira stopped in the doorway and stared. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, comfortable chairs, a massive desk, thousands of books, fiction, nonfiction, true crime, legal texts, criminology studies. You actually read all of these? Kira asked. Most of them. I like to learn. She walked along the shelves, trailing her fingers over the spines. You have the entire Oxford Companion to Crime and Mystery Writing, first edition. You know your books. I want to be a detective. Of course I know this series. She pulled out another volume. And you have MacLeod's analysis of criminal behavior. This is out of print. How did you even get this? Knox leaned against the doorframe, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. I have connections. Illegal connections? Not everything I do is illegal, detective. Just the marriage part. His jaw tightened. That contract is legal. Legal and ethical aren't the same thing. I know. They stared at each other. Why are you really doing this, Knox? I know you didn't get these books to read yourself. It feels like you've been planning for this to happen for a long time. Kira added quietly. Don't give me vague answers about someone showing you kindness. Tell me the truth. Knox pushed off the doorframe and walked toward her. Slow. Controlled. He stopped close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him. The truth is complicated, he said quietly. I'm smart. I can handle complicated. Knox's jaw clenched. You're not ready to hear that yet. Stop deciding what I'm ready for. You really don't remember, do you? His voice was soft, almost sad. Remember what? She shot at him, exasperated. Knox reached up and tucked a strand of her wavy black hair behind her ear, the same gesture he'd done at the casino. Someday, Kira Voss, he murmured, I'll tell you everything, and you'll understand why I did this, or why I'll do anything to protect you. Then he stepped back, breaking the moment. Your room is upstairs, second door on the left. Leia's room is next to yours. Mine is at the end of the hall. He headed for the door. Dinner's at 7. Mrs. Rivera will show you around. Knox? He stopped but didn't turn around. Thank you, Kira said quietly. For Leia, for all of this, even if I don't understand why. Knox's shoulders tensed. You will, he said quietly. Eventually. Then he left. Kira stood alone in the library, surrounded by books, in a mansion that was now supposedly her home, married to a man she didn't understand. A man who looked at her like she was the answer to a question she hadn't heard. Again, she wondered. What the heck had she gotten herself into? Drop a terrified emoji if you're screaming at the mystery. Like and comment, tell her Knox if you're dying for the truth. Subscribe because things are about to get even more intense. That night, Kira couldn't sleep. The bed was enormous and soft. The room was beautiful. Everything was perfect. And she'd never felt more out of place in her life. Around 2 a.m., she gave up and went looking for water. The mansion was dark, lit only by soft nightlights along the baseboards. She found the kitchen and opened the massive refrigerator. That's when she heard it. A groan. Pained. Muffled. Coming from upstairs. Kira's detective instincts kicked in immediately. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen block, just in case, and followed the sound. Down the hallway. Up the stairs. Toward the end of the hall. Toward Knox's room. The door was slightly open. Light spilling out from what looked like his bathroom. And Kira pushed the door open wider and stepped inside. Knox's bedroom was masculine and surprisingly sparse. King bed. Dark furniture. Nothing personal except She froze. The bathroom door was open. Knox was standing at the sink, shirtless, trying to stitch up a knife wound in his ribs. Blood was everywhere, running down his side, soaking towels on the counter, dripping onto the white tile. So much blood. The room tilted. Kira swayed. Knox's head snapped up. Their eyes met in the mirror. Those gray eyes went wide. Kira. Her world tilted, and a sudden wave of dizziness had her stumbling. Strong arms caught Kira before she hit the floor. The world spun, everything going black around the edges. She felt herself being lifted, cradled against something warm and solid. Kira. Knox's voice cut through the fog, are urgent and commanding. Kira, stay with me. She blinked, found herself pressed against his bare chest, one of his massive arms around her waist, the other supporting her back. His skin was warm, slick with blood. She could feel his heart hammering beneath her palm. You're bleeding, she whispered, and you almost cracked your skull on my bathroom tile. His gray eyes were intense, searching her face. Which would be worse? Despite the blood and the pain he had to be in, there was genuine concern in his voice. Kira's brain slowly rebooted. She pushed weakly against his chest. Put me down. You sure you won't faint again? I don't faint. I'm training to be a detective. Some detectives faint when there's this much blood, apparently. That was a momentary lapse in consciousness. Knox's lip twitched despite the pain. Right. A lapse. He set her down carefully, keeping one hand on her elbow until he was sure she was steady. Kira forced herself to look at the wound. A gash across his ribs, maybe 4 inches long, deep enough to need stitches. Blood still seeping out despite the towel he'd been pressing against it. Her stomach rolled, but she fought it down. She was studying criminology, for God's sake. She'd seen crime scene photos, autopsy reports. This was nothing. Except it wasn't nothing. It was Knox, her husband, bleeding in his bathroom at 2 in the morning. Why didn't you go to a hospital? Kira demanded, her detective brain kicking into gear. This needs proper medical attention. I can handle it. You were literally trying to stitch yourself up. That's not handling it. I've done it before. That stopped her. How many times have you done it before? Knox didn't answer. Just grabbed a clean towel and pressed it against the wound. Kira's mind raced, piecing together the evidence. Late night. Knife wound. Can't go to hospital. That meant, you can't risk going to a hospital, she said slowly. Because knife wounds get reported. Hospital staff are required by law to notify police of any injury that could be related to criminal activity. Which means whatever you were doing when you got stabbed, you can't have police involved. Knox's jaw tightened. You're making assumptions, detective. Am I wrong? He didn't answer. I knew it, Kira said, her words tumbling out the way they always did when she was anxious or angry. You said you went legitimate. You said you left the gang life behind. But here you are, bleeding from a knife wound you can't report, which means you're still involved in something illegal, which means I just married a criminal, which means… Kira. Knox's voice cut through her spiral. Calm. Firm. Breathe. She realized she was hyperventilating. I didn't do anything illegal tonight, Knox said quietly, meeting her eyes. But someone from my past showed up. Wanted to have a conversation I wasn't interested in having. Things got physical. Physical meaning he stabbed you. He tried. Got one slice in before I took the knife away. And then what? Knox's eyes went cold. And then I made it very clear that if he ever came near me or my family again, he wouldn't walk away next time. The way he said, my family, including her and Leia, made something warm and terrifying bloom in Kira's chest. So someone from your gang days attacked you, Kira said, forcing herself to think logically. Which means they know where you live. Which means Leia and I are in danger. No. Knox's voice was absolute. You're safe here. I have security everywhere, cameras, armed guards. No one gets past them. Except the guy who stabbed you apparently did. He caught me outside the property, coming back from a business meeting. It won't happen again. Kira studied his face, looking for lies, deception, anything her detective training had taught her to spot. But Knox's gray eyes were steady, honest. You're still bleeding, she said finally. Knox looked down. Blood was seeping through the towel again. I'll finish stitching it. You can barely reach it, and you're left-handed, which makes it even harder. Knox's eyebrow lifted. How'd you know I'm left-handed? I notice things. It's literally what I'm training to do. Kira grabbed the first aid kit from the counter. Sit down, let me do it. You don't have to. I took advanced first aid and emergency medical response for my criminology program. I know how to suture a wound. Now sit down before you bleed all over your ridiculously expensive bathroom. Knox's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. You're very bossy for someone who fainted 30 seconds ago. I didn't faint. I had a lapse. Now sit. Knox sat on the edge of the bathtub, his massive frame somehow making the bathroom feel smaller. Kira had to step between his legs to reach the wound properly, which meant standing way too close to way too much bare skin and muscle. Don't look at his abs. And don't look. This is a medical procedure. You're a professional. She looked. Sweet, merciful heaven. The man had an 8-pack. And tattoos. Intricate black ink covering his left shoulder and ribs, disappearing under the wound. Words in a language she didn't recognize. Images of, "See something you like, detective?" Knox's voice was low, amused. Kira's face burned. Shut up, I'm concentrating. But she could feel his eyes on her face, watching her with that intense focus that made her hands tremble slightly. She cleaned the wound first, using antiseptic that had to burn like hell. Knox didn't flinch, didn't make a sound, just watched her work with those gray eyes. You're good at this, he said quietly. I'm good at a lot of things. I'm starting to notice. The way he said it, low and rough, made her stomach flip. Focus, Kira. She threaded the needle and started stitching. Her hands were steady now, methodical. Years of studying crime scenes and medical procedures paying off. So what happened to the guy who stabbed you? She asked, trying to distract herself from how close they were. He left. Just left? You didn't call the police? File a report? No. Why not? Knox was quiet for a moment. Because calling the police would create questions I don't want to answer, and problems I've spent years trying to bury. Problems like Malachi Grant? Knox's entire body went rigid. His eyes snapped to hers. Where did you hear that name? I'm studying to be a detective, Knox. You think I didn't research you after you blackmailed me into marriage? Kira tied off a stitch. Malachi Grant, rumored head of the Jackals gang. On the gang you were part of as a teenager. The gang you supposedly left years ago. I did leave. Then why is someone from that gang attacking you in the middle of the night? Knox's jaw clenched. Because Malachi doesn't like people leaving, especially people who know things. What things? Things that could put him in prison for the rest of his life. Kira's hands stilled. You have evidence against him. Yes. From when you were in the gang. Yes. And he wants it back. He wants me gone. The evidence is secondary. Kira's throat tightened. Knox. I'm not going to die, Kira. His voice was certain. I've survived worse than Malachi Grant, and now I have actual reasons to keep surviving. He reached up slowly, giving her time to move away, and tucked a strand of her wavy hair behind her ear, and the gesture was becoming familiar. intimate. What reasons? Kira whispered. Knox's gray eyes held hers. You, Leia. This life I'm building. I'm not letting some gang leader take that away from me. Kira's heart was racing. They were so close, his face inches from hers. She could see the gold flecks in his gray eyes, the faint scar on his eyebrow, the way his pupils dilated when he looked at her. This was a bad idea. A terrible idea. But God, she wanted to kiss him. No, no. Focus on the stitches. She forced herself to look back at the wound and finished the last few stitches in silence. Done, she said, stepping back quickly, putting distance between them before she did something stupid. Keep it clean. Change the bandage daily. No heavy lifting for at least a week. Knox stood, towering over her again. Yes, ma'am. I'm serious. You tear those stitches and you'll actually have to go to a hospital and explain this to the police. Understood. They stood there. The bathroom suddenly felt suffocating. I should go, Kira said. Probably. But neither of them moved. Knox's eyes searched her face. You surprise me, Kira Voss. The way he said her married name made her shiver. How? Most people would have run screaming by now, but you're standing here arguing with me and stitching me up like it's nothing. It's not nothing. You scared the life out of me. But you didn't run. Where would I run to? This is my life now, apparently. Might as well make sure my husband doesn't bleed out in his bathroom. Something flickered in Knox's eyes at the word husband. Thank you, he said quietly. Thank you for helping me. The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. You're welcome, Kira whispered. She forced herself to turn and walk away before her brain completely short-circuited. Kira, Knox called. She stopped, looked back. I meant what I said. No one touches you. No one hurts you. I'll make sure of it. Even if it means you get attacked? His gray eyes were absolutely certain. Especially then. Kira fled to her room before she did something really stupid. Like kiss her dangerous, mysterious, infuriating husband. If you're screaming at the tension between these two, drop a flame emoji in the comments. And if you think Knox is already gone for Kira, comment, he's in love. Don't forget to subscribe because their chemistry is about to explode. The next morning, Kira woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of fresh coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back. Mansion. Marriage. Knox. She grabbed her phone. 7:30 a.m. She had classes at 9. Kira threw on clothes and headed downstairs, following the sound of Leia's cheerful chattering. The kitchen was massive and filled with people. Leia sat at the huge island, talking to a woman Kira didn't recognize. Younger than Mrs. Rivera, maybe early 30s, with rich dark skin and warm brown eyes. She wore professional but comfortable clothes. And then Kira said we were going on an adventure, but it was actually a wedding. I got to wear my purple dress, Leia was saying. The woman smiled. That sounds very exciting. Did you have cake? No, there was no cake. Kira, we forgot cake. We'll get cake later, Leia, Kira said, entering the kitchen. Mrs. Rivera appeared with a coffee mug. Good morning, Mrs. Voss. Coffee? Just Kira, please. And yes, coffee would save my life right now. The other woman stood and extended her hand. I'm Dr. Yuki Tanaka. I'll be working with Leia on her cognitive therapy. Kira shook her hand, studying the doctor with her detective's eye. Professional, competent, kind eyes. Good. Call me Kira. Thank you for coming so early. Mr. Voss contacted me 2 days ago, asked me to start immediately. Dr. Tanaka smiled at Leia. And I'm very happy to be here. Leia and I have been discussing her favorite animals. Dolphins, Leia said. They're smart and nice, and they smile. They do smile, Dr. Tanaka agreed. After breakfast. Oh, would you like to do some exercises with me? Fun ones, I promise. Will there be puzzles? I like puzzles. Lots of puzzles. Kira's throat tightened. This was real. Knox had actually arranged all of this. The best medical care. A doctor who actually treated Leia like a person instead of a patient. Where's Knox? Kira asked Mrs. Rivera. Mr. Voss left early for a business meeting, but he left instructions that Brandon would drive you to campus at 8:30. Kira frowned. Brandon? Your security detail. I don't need security. Mrs. Rivera handed her a note. Knox's neat handwriting. Yes, you do. Don't argue. Kay. Kira's eye twitched. He's very presumptuous. Mrs. Rivera's eyes crinkled. He's very protective. There's a difference. At 8:30, Kira walked outside to find a black SUV waiting. And standing beside it was the largest human being she'd ever seen. The man had to be 6'6", built like a professional linebacker, with dark brown skin and arms that looked like they could bench press a car. But he had a kind face and an easy smile. Mrs. Voss, he said politely, I'm Brandon Webb. I'll be your security today. That's really not necessary. Mr. Voss insists. Of course he did. The ride to UBC was quiet. Brandon was professional, polite, and absolutely refused to explain why Knox thought Kira needed a bodyguard. When they arrived at campus, Brandon parked and got out. I'll be nearby, he said. You won't notice me, but I'll be there. This is ridiculous, Kira muttered. But Brandon just smiled and disappeared into the background. Kira's first class was Criminology 301, Criminal Behavior Analysis. She slid into her usual seat beside her friend, Shanice Lewis. They weren't tight friends, but did get together now and then to swap gossip. Shanice took one look at her and gasped. Girl, is that a wedding ring? Kira looked down at her left hand, the simple platinum band Knox had put on her finger yesterday. It's complicated, Kira said. Complicated? Shanice's voice rose. Several students turned to look. Kira, you disappear for 2 days and come back married? To who? Knox Voss? Shanice actually choked on her coffee. The Knox Voss? Casino-owning, crazy rich, looks like he walked out of a magazine, Knox Voss? That's the one. How? When? Why wasn't I invited? It was sudden, very sudden. Sudden? Kira, you haven't dated anyone in 2 years. You don't even go to parties. And now you're married to one of the richest, most eligible bachelors in Vancouver? Shanice grabbed her hand, examining the ring. This is platinum. This is real platinum. Oh my God, oh my God. You have to tell me everything, every single detail. After class, Kira promised, but she didn't get the chance. Because halfway through the lecture, the classroom door opened, and Knox Voss walked in. The entire class went silent. Knox looked devastating in all black. Black suit jacket, black shirt, black jeans. His twists were perfect, his gray eyes scanning the room until they found Kira. His expression softened immediately. Mrs. Voss, he said, we need to go. Kira's face burned. Everyone was staring. I'm in the middle of class. Now, Kira. The way he said her name, gentle but firm, made her stomach flip. Professor Derek looked between them. Is everything all right? Family emergency, Knox said smoothly. I need to borrow my wife. Wife. He said it so naturally, like they'd been married for years instead of 1 day. Shanice's jaw was on the floor. Kira grabbed her bag and followed Knox out of the classroom, acutely aware of every eye watching them. What's wrong? She asked as they walked down the hallway. Is it Leia? Did something happen? Leia's fine. This is about your father. Kira stopped walking. What about him? Knox's jaw tightened. He showed up at the mansion this morning, demanding to see you, demanding money. Brandon turned him away, but I wanted to make sure he didn't come here looking for you. So you drove all the way to campus to, what? Protect me from my own father? Yes. Knox, I can handle Byron. I know you can. Knox stepped closer, his gray eyes intense. But you shouldn't have to. Not anymore. They were standing in the middle of the hallway. Students were walking past, staring, whispering. Everyone's watching, Kira said quietly. I don't care. Well, I do. I don't need everyone thinking I'm some damsel in distress who needs her husband to rescue her. Knox's expression softened. That's not what I think, at all. Then why are you here? Because you're mine. The possessiveness in his voice made her shiver. And I protect what's mine. Before Kira could respond, she heard a familiar voice. Kira, baby, there you are. Her blood went cold. Byron Hayes was stumbling across the quad toward them, clearly drunk despite it being 10 a.m. His clothes were wrinkled, his face unshaven, on his eyes bloodshot. Knox went very, very still beside her. Oh no, Kira whispered. Byron reached them, swaying slightly. Baby girl, I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk. You need to leave, Byron, Kira said firmly. Don't call me Byron, I'm your father. You lost the right to that title when you sold me. Students were stopping now, pulling out phones. This was going to be all over social media in minutes. Byron's face darkened. Is that what he told you? Baby, I was desperate, but look, it worked out. You're living in a mansion now, married to a rich man. This is good for you. Good for me? Kira's voice was dangerously quiet. You think being forced into marriage is good for me? You're being dramatic. He's clearly treating you well. Look at those clothes, that ring. You probably have money now. So you can spare a little for your old man, right? Just a few thousand? No. Kira, I'm your father. You owe me. I don't owe you anything. Byron grabbed her arm, hard enough to bruise. After everything I've done for you, raising you, feeding you. Knox moved so fast Kira barely saw it. 1 second Byron was gripping her arm. The next, Knox had grabbed Byron's wrist and twisted. Byron yelped and released Kira immediately. But Knox didn't let go. You have 3 seconds to explain why you're touching my wife, Knox said quietly. His voice was calm, conversational, absolutely terrifying. The entire quad went silent. Everyone was watching now, phones recording. I wasn't, we were just talking, Byron stammered. You grabbed her. It's nothing. She's my daughter. I have a right. Knox twisted Byron's wrist harder. And Byron cried out in pain. Knox, Kira said quietly. Let him go. Knox's eyes never left Byron's face. He touched you. I know, but let him go. For a long moment, Knox didn't move. His gray eyes were pure ice. No mercy, no warmth. Then he released Byron with a shove that sent the older man stumbling backward. Byron clutched his wrist, gasping. Knox turned to Kira, and his expression transformed completely. The ice melted. His eyes softened with concern. Did he hurt you? Knox asked quietly, his large hand gently taking her arm where Byron had grabbed it. I'm fine, Kira said, but her voice shook. Knox examined her arm, his jaw clenching when he saw the red marks forming. He left bruises. Knox looked at Byron. When he spoke, his voice was low and deadly calm. You don't contact her. You don't come near her. You don't even think about her, understand? Byron nodded frantically, still clutching his wrist. If I hear you've bothered her again, Knox continued, stepping toward Byron, I'll do a lot more than twist your wrist. We clear? Yes, absolutely, crystal clear. And if you ever... Knox leaned in close, his voice dropping so low only Byron could hear the next part. If you ever put your hands on her again, I'll break every bone in your body, slowly. Byron went pale. Brandon appeared then, and Knox nodded at him. Get him out of my sight. Byron practically ran, stumbling across the quad and disappearing into the parking lot. Silence. The entire campus was staring. Phones everywhere, recording everything. Kira's face burned with humiliation. Knox turned to her. "Get in the car." "Knox, as everyone's watching. Don't mind them. Get in the car, Kira." His tone left no room for argument. Brandon had appeared with the SUV. Knox put his hand on the small of Kira's back and guided her toward it. "But my classes, you're done for today. You can't just decide that." Knox opened the back door. "Get in." Kira got in because she was too overwhelmed to argue anymore. Knox slid in beside her. Brandon got in front. The SUV pulled away from campus. The second they were away from the crowds, Knox turned to Kira. "Let me see your arm." "It's fine." "Kira." She held out her arm. The red marks were already turning purple. Knox's jaw clenched so hard she heard his teeth grind. "He's not worth it," Kira said quietly. "He's just a pathetic drunk." "He touched you." Knox's voice was rough with barely contained rage. "He hurt you." "I've had worse." Knox's gray eyes snapped to hers. "What?" "Nothing. I just mean, it's just bruises. I'm fine." But Knox's expression had gone very cold. "He's hurt you before." It wasn't a question. Kira looked away. "Kira, has your father hurt you before?" She didn't answer. Knox exhaled slowly, his hands clenching into fists. "I should have broken more than his wrist." The fierceness in his voice made her eyes burn. "Why do you care so much?" she whispered. "You barely know me." Knox reached up and cupped her face with one large hand. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Gentle. Tender. "I know you better than you think," he said quietly. "And you're mine now. That means everything." They were so close. Too close. Kira could see the gold flecks in his gray eyes, could feel his breath on her face, could feel the heat radiating from his body. Her K-drama-obsessed brain immediately supplied a soundtrack. Emotional piano. Slow motion. The moment right before the kiss. And then Kira stopped thinking. She closed the distance and kissed him. It was supposed to be just a quick thank you. A brief press of lips. But the second their mouths touched, everything changed. Knox made a sound. Something between a groan and a growl. And his hand slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. His lips were soft and firm at the same time. He tasted like coffee and something darker, more dangerous. His other hand came to rest on her waist, pulling her closer. Kira's hands gripped his jacket, holding on because her entire world was spinning. This wasn't a gentle first kiss. And this was years of tension and want and need exploding all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Knox's gray eyes were molten silver. "Kira, don't," she whispered. "Don't say anything. I don't know why I did that. You were there and you protected me and—" Knox kissed her again. Slower this time. Deeper. Like he was memorizing the taste of her. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you in that casino," he admitted quietly. Kira's heart was racing. "This doesn't change anything. We're still basically strangers. This marriage is still—" "Kira." Knox's thumb brushed her lower lip. "Stop talking." "I talk when I'm nervous." He kissed her again, and Kira stopped talking. Over the next 2 weeks, Kira's life transformed completely. Leia was thriving. Dr. Tanaka worked with her daily, and the improvement was visible. Leia was talking more, remembering more, laughing more. Knox had insisted she quit her jobs at the bakery and the cleaning company. "You're my wife," he'd said. "You don't need to work 2 jobs anymore." "I need to contribute." "Then work on your studies. Graduate top of your class. Become the detective you're meant to be. That's your contribution." It was hard to argue with that. But the biggest change was Knox. After that kiss in the car, something had shifted between them. He still gave her space, still kept to his room at night. But there were moments, accidental touches in the hallway, his hand on the small of her back when they walked, and the way his eyes followed her across a room, the way she caught herself looking for him when he wasn't there. One evening, Kira found Knox in the mansion's gym, beating the hell out of a punching bag. He was shirtless, covered in sweat, his muscles flexing with each hit. The tattoos on his shoulder and ribs caught the light. Kira should have walked away. Instead, she walked in. "Teach me," she said. Knox stopped mid-punch, turned to look at her. "What?" "Teach me to fight, to defend myself. If I'm going to be married to you, I need to know how to protect myself." Knox studied her for a long moment. "You sure?" "Yes. Fighting isn't pretty, Kira. It's brutal, painful. I can handle it." Something like pride flickered in Knox's eyes. "All right, but we do this properly. No half measures." Over the next week, Knox taught her how to throw a punch, how to block, how to use an opponent's weight against them, how to find weak points. He was a patient teacher, firm but never cruel, pushing her but never too far. And God help her, Kira loved every second. Not just the fighting, but the closeness. The way his hands felt when he corrected her stance. The way his voice dropped when he gave instructions. The way his gray eyes darkened when she managed to land a hit. One evening, they were sparring. Knox was teaching her how to escape a hold. "If someone grabs you from behind," he said, demonstrating by wrapping his arms around her, "you need to—" But Kira wasn't listening to the instructions anymore. She was too aware of his chest pressed against her back, his arms around her, his breath on her neck. "Kira," Knox said, his voice rough. Are you paying attention?" "I can't," she admitted breathlessly. Knox went very still. Slowly, he turned her around in his arms. His gray eyes searched her face. "Tell me to stop." "What if I don't want you to stop?" The training session ended very differently than it had started. But their bubble of happiness couldn't last forever. Some days later, Kira came home from campus to find the mansion in chaos. Police cars everywhere, officers swarming, and Knox being led out in handcuffs. Kira ran toward him. "What's happening?" A detective stepped in her way, a white man in his 40s with cold eyes and a smug smile. "Mrs. Voss, I'm Detective Carter. We're arresting your husband on charges of possession of illegal narcotics with intent to distribute." Kira's world tilted. "That's impossible. Knox doesn't do drugs. We found 50 kilograms of it in the trunk of his car." No, that's not—" "Knox wouldn't—" She looked at Knox. His expression was calm. Too calm. But his gray eyes were burning with rage. "Call Silas," Knox said to her. "Tell him to get the lawyer. And Kira—" His voice softened. "Don't worry, this is a mistake. I'll be home soon." "Knox." But they were already pushing him into a police car. Silas appeared beside Kira, his usually cheerful face grim. "I'll handle this. Don't worry." But Kira was already worrying, because her detective instincts were screaming. Knox didn't do drugs. She knew that with absolute certainty, which meant someone had planted that coke, which meant someone was trying to destroy him, and Kira was going to find out who. Kira stood in the police station lobby, her arms wrapped around herself, feeling like she was drowning. It had been 3 days. 3 days since Knox was arrested. 3 days since she'd seen his face. 3 days that felt like 3 years. The bail hearing had been a disaster. The prosecutor had argued Knox was a flight risk with unlimited resources. Bail denied. He'd be held until trial. Trial, which could be months away. Kira couldn't breathe. "Mrs. Voss?" A police officer approached. Young, sympathetic. I'm sorry, but visiting hours are over. You'll have to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow. Another day without seeing him. Please, Kira said, hating how her voice broke. Just 5 minutes. I just need to see him. I'm sorry. Rules are rules. Kira wanted to scream, wanted to use every legal argument she'd learned in her criminology classes, and wanted to break down these walls and drag Knox out herself. Instead, she nodded numbly and walked out into the rain. Brandon was waiting with the SUV. Home, Mrs. Voss? He asked gently. Home. The mansion that felt empty without Knox in it. Yeah, Kira whispered. Home. The mansion was too quiet. Leia was asleep. Dr. Tanaka had taken her to the aquarium earlier, trying to keep things normal. But even Leia had noticed Knox's absence. Where's Knox? She'd asked that morning. He promised to teach me chess. Kira had tried to explain, tried to make it simple. But how do you tell someone with Leia's condition that the man who'd shown her nothing but kindness was sitting in a jail cell for a crime he didn't commit? Kira sat in Knox's office, surrounded by his things. His scent still lingered, leather and expensive cologne. She pulled his jacket from the back of his chair and wrapped it around herself. God, she missed him, missed his quiet presence, missed the way he looked at her like she was the answer to every question, missed his rare smiles, missed the way his voice dropped when he said her name, missed the way he'd held her when they kissed. When had this happened? When had this forced marriage become real? When had Knox Voss stopped being her captor and become everything? Kira buried her face in his jacket and let herself cry. For the first time since this nightmare started, she admitted the truth. She was falling in love with her husband, and she might lose him before she ever got the chance to tell him. The next morning, Kira woke up with swollen eyes and iron determination. Knox said this was a mistake, said he didn't do this, and Kira believed him, which meant someone had framed him, and Kira was going to find out who. She grabbed her laptop and did what she did best: investigate. The facts. 50 kilograms of coke found in Knox's car trunk. Car was parked at the mansion overnight. Security footage showed no one approaching the vehicle, which meant either they were planted before the car arrived home, or Kira's detective brain kicked into high gear, or someone with access to the property had planted them. Someone Knox trusted. She pulled up the security logs, cross-referenced them with the timeline, checked who had access to the garage, the cars, the property, and found something interesting. Silas Reed had entered the garage the night before Knox's arrest. At 2 a.m. stayed for 17 minutes. Left. 4 hours later, police showed up with a search warrant. Kira's blood went cold. No, not Silas. He was kind, loyal, Knox's best friend. But the evidence didn't lie. Kira dug deeper, pulled up Silas's financial records, and found offshore accounts that looked really suspicious. Large deposits from shell companies she didn't recognize. Her hands shook as she traced the money. The shell companies led back to a name that made her stomach drop. Malachi Grant. Silas had been paid $500,000, deposited 2 weeks before Knox's arrest. Silas had betrayed Knox. Kira wanted to throw up, but she forced herself to keep digging. Because if Silas was working for Malachi, there had to be more. She cross-referenced the police report, the officers who'd discovered the drugs, the detective leading the case, Detective Carter, and found another connection. Detective Carter had received payments too. Smaller, harder to trace. But there, from the same shell companies. The police were corrupt. Malachi had bought them. This wasn't just about framing Knox. This was about destroying him, taking away everything he'd built, making sure he couldn't fight back. Kira sat back, her mind racing. She had evidence, financial records, paper trails, proof of corruption and conspiracy. But who could she trust? If the police were corrupt, who could she go to? Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Mrs. Voss? The voice was older, male, with an edge that made her skin crawl. We haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. I'm Malachi Grant. Kira's grip tightened on the phone. What do you want? To offer you a deal. Your husband is going to prison for a very long time, unless you convince him to give me what I want. Knox doesn't have anything you want. Malachi laughed. Your husband has evidence that could put me away for life. Financial records, names, transactions, everything from his time with the Jackals. I want it, all of it. And if he gives it to me, I'll make sure those charges disappear. And if he doesn't, then you'll be visiting your husband in prison for the next 20 years. If he survives that long. Prison can be very dangerous for someone like Knox Voss. The threat was clear. I'll think about it, Kira said, keeping her voice steady. Don't think too long. You have 48 hours. He hung up. Kira sat there, her heart pounding. And Malachi was giving her a choice. Save Knox by giving up the evidence that protected him, or keep the evidence and watch Knox rot in prison. But there was a third option. Use her detective skills to expose Malachi, the corrupt cops, and everyone else involved. It was dangerous, maybe impossible. But Kira had never backed down from a challenge in her life. And she wasn't about to start now. If you think Kira is about to become a total badass and save her man, drop Detective Kira in the comments and smash subscribe because this investigation is about to raise things down. The next day, Kira finally got to see Knox. They led her to a small visiting room with a plexiglass divider and phones on either side. And then Knox walked in. Kira's heart shattered. He looked exhausted. His twists were still neat. Knox was too disciplined to let himself go even in jail. But there were shadows under his gray eyes. His orange prison uniform made him look wrong, diminished. But when he saw her, his entire expression softened. He picked up the phone. Kira grabbed hers with shaking hands. Hey, Knox said quietly. Hey, Kira whispered. They just looked at each other for a moment. You look tired, Knox said. You look like you're in jail. His lip twitched, almost a smile. Observant, good detective work. Despite everything, Kira almost laughed. Almost. I miss you, she said before she could stop herself. Knox's gray eyes darkened. Kira, I know this is complicated and weird and we barely know each other, but I miss you, Knox. The house is too quiet. Leia keeps asking for you, and Her voice broke. I hate that you're in here for something you didn't do. Knox's jaw clenched. I'm going to fix this. How? You can't do anything from in there. I have lawyers. Who can't do anything because the police are corrupt? Kira lowered her voice, glancing at the guard. I know about Silas. Knox went very still. What about Silas? He planted them, Knox. Malachi paid him $500,000. I found the accounts, the transfers, everything. Knox's expression went absolutely cold. Silas? I'm sorry, I know he was your friend. He's dead. Knox's voice was flat, emotionless, which somehow made it more terrifying. When I get out of here, Silas Reed is a dead man. Knox, no one betrays me and lives, Kira. No one. Kira's throat tightened. We'll handle Silas later. Right now, I need to get you out of here. How? The system is rigged against me. Then we break the system. Kira leaned forward. I found evidence of police corruption. Detective Carter is on Malachi's payroll, so are at least 3 other officers. I have bank records, wire transfers, everything. Knox's gray eyes sharpened. Where? On my laptop, encrypted, safe. Kira, listen to me very carefully. You need to take that evidence to the FBI, not the local police. They're compromised. Go federal. I know. I already made an appointment with the FBI field office for tomorrow. Something like pride flickered across Knox's face. That's my girl. The possessiveness in his voice made her stomach flip. Malachi called me, Kira said quietly. Threatened me. Gave me 48 hours to convince you to hand over your evidence on him. Knox's expression went murderous. He threatened you? It's fine. It's not fine. When I get out of here. When you get out of here, Kira interrupted firmly, you're going to come home. You're going to hug Leia because she misses you. You're going to take a real shower, and then... Her voice dropped. And then you're going to tell me the truth. About why you really married me. About what I'm supposed to remember. Knox's eyes softened. You want to know now? I want to know everything. Knox leaned closer to the glass. 12 years ago, I was homeless, starving. I was sitting in the rain outside a house in East Vancouver trying to find shelter. And this girl came out. She was maybe 11 or 12, small, wearing all black like she was dressed for a funeral. Kira's breath caught. She saw me, Knox continued quietly. And instead of being scared or disgusted, she went back inside and brought me food. Real food. Soup, sandwich, warm bread. Then she brought me her father's clothes. Dry clothes. Oh, God. I asked her name, Knox said. She told me, Kira Hayes. We talked for maybe 10 minutes. Then her father came out, started screaming, called me trash, dragged her inside. But before she disappeared, she looked back at me. And in her eyes, I saw a silent plea for someone to save her. Tears were streaming down Kira's face as that blurry memory clashed into her. The day her mother was buried. It was that day. The haggard-looking boy with those sharp gray eyes she'd fed. A small gasp left her lips. How had she forgotten those eyes? I promised myself that night, Knox said, his voice rough with emotion, that someday, when I had money and power, I'd come back for that girl. I'd save her the way she saved me, even if she didn't remember. I didn't remember, Kira sobbed. I'm sorry, Knox, I didn't. You were just this skinny kid, and I was so young, and my mother had just been buried, and... I know. Knox's smile was sad. I was nobody. Just some street kid. Why would you remember? But you remembered me, for 12 years. Every single day. Knox pressed his hand against the glass. You saved my life, Kira. Gave me hope when I had nothing. And I spent years building an empire so I could keep the promise I made in my heart to that scared girl in black. Kira pressed her hand against the glass, matching his. When your father walked into my casino, I knew. I'd been waiting for that moment. Waiting for my chance to save you. By forcing me to marry you? By making sure no one could ever hurt you again. By giving you and Leia the life you deserved. By taking you away from him. His voice broke slightly. You're insane, Kira whispered. Probably. And romantic. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation. Despite everything, Kira laughed through her tears. I'm going to get you out of here, Knox Voss. I know you will, Detective. And then I'm going to kiss you until we both forget how to breathe. Knox's gray eyes went molten. That's a promise I'm going to hold you to. 1 minute, the guard called. 1 minute, not enough, never enough. I love you, Kira blurted out. I know it's too soon and crazy, and we got married under insane circumstances. But I love you, Knox, and I need you to come home. Knox's expression cracked, raw emotion flooding his face. I love you too, he said roughly. From the moment I saw that little girl in black showing kindness despite her obvious grief. I've loved you for 12 years, Kira Hayes Voss. Time's up, the guard said. No, wait, just 1 more minute. But they were already pulling Knox away. Kira watched him go, her hand still pressed against the glass, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. Knox loved her, had loved her for 12 years, and she was going to bring him home. The next morning, Kira walked into the FBI field office in downtown Vancouver with her laptop, a USB drive full of evidence, and in her detective training armor firmly in place. An agent led her to a conference room where two people waited. Agent Jennifer Park, late 30s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. And Agent David Okonkwo, early 40s, thoughtful, intense. "Mrs. Voss," Agent Park said, "you said you have evidence of police corruption?" Kira set down her laptop. "I have evidence of conspiracy, corruption, and organized crime, and I can connect it all to Malachi Grant." Both agents went very still. "You have our attention," Agent Okonkwo said. Kira opened her laptop and started presenting. Financial records showing payments from Malachi's shell companies to Silas Reed. Bank transfers showing Detective Carter and 3 other officers receiving money. Timeline showing Silas's garage access the night before Knox's arrest. On security footage showing the car was clean before Silas entered, and police arriving hours after he left. Phone records showing calls between Malachi, Silas, and Detective Carter. By the time she finished, both agents were leaning forward. "This is solid work," Agent Park said, impressed. "You're not a professional investigator?" "I'm studying criminology, training to be a detective." "You're already better than half the cops I know," Agent Okonkwo said. "Where did you get all this?" "My husband gave me access to his business records. I found the rest through legal public databases and financial disclosures." "Your husband is Knox Voss, the man currently in jail on substance charges. Charges that were planted by Silas Reed on orders from Malachi Grant," Kira said firmly. "My husband is innocent." Agent Park studied her. "Now you believe that." "I know that. Knox Voss is a lot of things, but he's not a drug dealer. He went legitimate years ago. Malachi wants to destroy him because Knox has evidence that could put Malachi away for life." "What evidence?" "Financial records from Knox's time in the Jackals gang. Names, transactions, everything Malachi did illegally for 20 years. Knox kept it as insurance. Malachi wants it back." Agent Okonkwo exchanged a look with Agent Park. "We've been trying to build a case against Malachi Grant for 5 years," he said. "If your husband has that kind of evidence, he'll give it to you, in exchange for dropping the charges and protective custody for our family." "We can do that," Agent Park said. "But we need to move fast. If Malachi realizes we're onto him. He already knows I'm investigating. He called me. Threatened me." Both agents tensed. "When?" Agent Park demanded. 2 days ago. Gave me 48 hours to convince Knox to hand over the evidence. That deadline is..." Kira checked her phone. "In 6 hours. Then we need to move now." Agent Okonkwo stood. "Agent Park, get a team together. We're raiding Malachi's operations tonight. Mrs. Voss, we'll need you to testify. I'll do whatever it takes to get my husband out of that cell." Agent Park smiled. "You're fierce. I like you. So does my husband, which is why he's going to lose his mind when he finds out I went after Malachi without him." "Sounds like a good marriage." Despite everything, Kira smiled. "Yeah, it really is. Drop Kira is a queen if you're living for this, and comment bring Knox home if you need them reunited right now. And subscribe because this ending is going to wreck you in the best way." That night, the FBI raided 6 of Malachi Grant's properties simultaneously. They found drugs, weapons, and, most importantly, financial records that connected Malachi to decades of organized crime. By midnight, Malachi Grant, Detective Carter, and 4 other corrupt officers were in custody. Silas Reed was arrested trying to flee to Mexico. And at 2 a.m., a judge signed an emergency order releasing Knox Voss. Kira was waiting outside the jail when he walked out. Knox stood in the doorway, looking exhausted and beautiful and perfect. Their eyes met. And then Kira was running. She crashed into him so hard she nearly knocked them both over. Knox's arms came around her immediately, crushing her against his chest. "You did it," Knox murmured into her hair. Not you actually did it. I told you I would. My brilliant, fierce, incredible wife saving me for the second time. Kira pulled back just enough to look up at him. You remembered me for 12 years. Best 12 years of my life. Even though I was just some random kid who gave you a sandwich? You were never random, Kira. You were everything. You gave me something to live for, hope, purpose. I still can't believe I forgot you. I feel terrible. Don't. Knox cupped her face. You were young. I was just some scrawny street kid with no hair, and... Wait. Kira's eyes widened. No hair? I shaved my head back then. Gang thing. Oh my God. Kira started laughing. That's why I don't remember. You were just this bald, scrawny kid, and now you're... She gestured at all of him. This. Knox's lip twitched. So you're saying if I'd had these twists back then, you would have remembered? I'm saying you had a glow-up that should be illegal. Knox laughed. Actually laughed, and kissed her. It was soft and sweet and perfect. When they pulled apart, Knox rested his forehead against hers. Let's go home, he whispered. Always. 1 month later, Kira walked across the stage at her graduation ceremony, accepting her criminology degree with honors. The entire auditorium erupted in cheers. Leia was screaming. That's my sister! She's a detective now! Knox was standing in the front row, looking devastatingly handsome in a black suit, with the proudest expression on his face. Beside him, Dr. Tanaka was clapping enthusiastically. Mrs. Rivera was dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Even Brandon was there, grinning. After the ceremony, Knox pulled Kira into his arms and kissed her in front of everyone. I'm so proud of you, he murmured. I couldn't have done it without you. You paid my tuition, gave me time to study. You did the work, detective. I just made sure nothing got in your way. So what now? Kira asked. I'm officially a detective. Think the Vancouver PD will hire me after I helped bust their corrupt officers? Knox smiled. Actually, I have a better offer. Oh? The FBI wants to hire you. Agent Park specifically requested you for their organized crime unit. Kira's jaw dropped. Are you serious? Completely. They were impressed by your investigation skills. Said you have a natural talent. The FBI? Kira breathed. That's my dream job. I know. Knox tucked a strand of her wavy hair behind her ear, his signature gesture. So, what do you say, Mrs. Voss? Ready to take down bad guys for a living? Kira grinned. Only if you promise to stay on the legal side of the law? I promise. All my businesses are completely legitimate now, boring, respectable. I don't know if you could ever be boring. Knox's gray eyes darkened. Want to test that theory tonight? Kira's face heated. Knox, we're in public. So? So your daughter is watching. I'm not his daughter, Leia called from nearby. I'm his sister-in-law. It's different. Everyone laughed. Later that night, Kira stood on the mansion balcony, looking out at the city lights. Knox came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Happy? He asked quietly. Ridiculously happy, Kira admitted. Which is insane because a month ago I hated you. You didn't hate me. Jokut, you hated the situation. True. Now I just hate that it took me so long to realize I was falling in love with you. Knox turned her around in his arms. For the record, I knew I was in love with you the moment you stitched me up and threatened to arrest me in the same breath. Kira laughed. That's such a weird moment to fall in love. You're a weird woman. You married me. Best decision I ever made. Knox's expression turned serious. Kira, I need to tell you something. That sounds ominous. It's not. It's just, when I married you, it was supposed to be about keeping a promise I made to myself, about saving you the way you saved me. But somewhere along the way, it became real. You became real. This, he gestured between them, became everything. Kira's eyes burned. Knox, I know this started as a forced arrangement. I know I gave you no choice, and I know I should probably feel guilty about that. But you don't. But I don't, because it brought me you, and I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat. Even the jail part? Even the jail part. Because you saved me. Again. Kira reached up and cupped his face. You saved me too, you know. From my father, from that life, from thinking I had to do everything alone. You never have to be alone again, Knox said fiercely. You have me. You have Leia. You have this whole weird family we've built. We're yours. I'm yours. Promise? For the rest of my life. Kira pulled him down and kissed him. It was soft and sweet and full of promises for the future. When they pulled apart, Knox smiled. That rare, genuine smile that made him look younger and lighter. So, detective, he said, Aj ready for our next adventure? Kira grinned. With you? Always. 5 years later. Epilogue. Kira Voss, special agent with the FBI's Organized Crime Unit, walked through the front door of her home and was immediately tackled by a small tornado. Mama, she laughed and scooped up the 3-year-old boy who'd crashed into her legs. Hey, baby, were you good for Daddy? I was very good, her son declared. I helped Daddy with his puzzles. Business spreadsheets are not puzzles, Julian, Knox said, walking into the foyer with their 1-year-old daughter on his hip. But yes, he was very good. Kira kissed her daughter's chubby cheek. And how's my girl? Baby Serena, named after Knox's sister, giggled and grabbed Kira's hair. Leia called, Knox said. She got accepted into the assisted living program. She's really excited. That's amazing. Kira's heart swelled. With Dr. Tanaka's help, Leia had made incredible progress over the years. She was living semi-independently now, working part-time at an animal shelter, thriving in ways they'd never thought possible. How was work? Knox asked. We closed the Novak case. He's going away for 20 years. My brilliant wife. Knox leaned down and kissed her. Saving the world one bad guy at a time. Someone has to, especially since you've gone all soft and respectable. Knox grinned. I'm a legitimate businessman. Boring hotels, tedious casinos, completely legal nightclubs. And a charity foundation, and a youth center, and a program for homeless teens. Well, Knox shrugged. I remember what it was like to be invisible. I figured I could help make sure other kids don't have to feel that way. Kira's eyes burned. 5 years married, and he could still make her cry with how good his heart was. I love you, she said. I love you too. Knox shifted baby Serena to one arm and pulled Kira close with the other. From the moment a little girl in black gave me hope, I've loved you. Julian tugged on Kira's pants. Mama, can we have ice cream? After dinner. But Daddy said, Daddy spoils you, Kira said, shooting Knox a look. Knox grinned unrepentantly. I have no idea what you're talking about. You gave him ice cream before I got home, didn't you? I plead the fifth. You're impossible. You married me anyway. Best decision I ever made. And standing in the foyer of their home, surrounded by the family they'd built, Kira meant every word. She'd been forced into a marriage with a dangerous stranger. And somehow, impossibly, she'd found everything she'd ever wanted. Love. Family. Purpose. Home. Sometimes the worst beginnings led to the best endings. Life doesn't always give us choices, but it always gives us chances. Family isn't always blood. It's the people who show up, who fight for you, who refuse to give up even when the world says they should. Remember, the person you think is your enemy might actually be the hero of your story. You just have to be brave enough to see it. If this story wrecked you emotionally, drop in the comments. If you loved Knox and Kira's journey, comment best couple ever. And subscribe to our channel for more stories that will make you believe in love again. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our next emotional roller coaster.